Hello guys, welcome back to Writer's Tales for the Last Adventurers. This is number 24, this is Urban Prey. So we're in London 1972, or the early 70s really, and a new, what do you call it, a new complex has been opened up called the Brunswick Centre, or the Brunswick Estate. Newly built, and, you know, apartments and also a little bit of a shopping area as well. But there's some sinister things going on, actually. Someone's been murdered within the square, of course, within the shopping centre, of course. A man who apparently has no identity. He has no birth certificate or anything like that. But he's also not human as well. Due to his skin, due to his very look actually, to be honest. And yes. An investigation is called upon. United Nations Intelligence Task Force. So I've come in. We're going to introduce the Brigadier, of course. Brigadier Alistair Gordon-Leppard-Stewart, Sergeant John Benton, Captain Mike Yates. You know, and we also got a few people like Tom Osgood as well. So we do have a few, fellow. We have, of course, with this, unit doing the, so we're doing the per years, of course. We also get introduced to Josephine Grant as well, Joe Grant, who is meant to be, who is sort of the assistant for a scientific advisor. But apparently he says he's gone on vacation, or so it seems. Then afterwards we introduce, of course, the last adventures, of course, come along, introduce themselves, of course. They have to form an alliance with UNIT. And one way to do it is they need to go on an undercover mission to this whole Brunswick thing. In order to do that, they have to live in a flat together, all together, like a covert operation, like a stakeout, really. That's the whole thing. And in doing so, they all have 20 of them, the Brigadier, Sergeant Benton, Captain Yates, Josephine Grant. They have to stay in this apartment all together, all crammed together. And it's not easy at all. So they stake out. There are some great interesting scenes, of course, between, let me think. There's a good. I'm trying to think at the top of my head as well. There's a really good scene when they're playing cards, and this actually goes back. This sort of homages the episode, the Wind of the Millers episode, Champion of the Green Bays, when obviously they're playing cards. Of course, the Brigadier, of course, is actually joined in, get a bit of fun, really see what else he can win, see what these people have got. Because they say they've got some weird, interesting little treasures and little gems and stuff like they've collected, that they've been on the travels, and he's sort of interested because he sort of knew, he knows of the Doctor, that he's a traveller of time and space and everything else, and always wondered. That's something he's always wondered. He thought, what kind of things and possessions does he have that are sort of interesting to him, really? He's not a thief or anything, but he's just interested, really. And obviously, with them, with these characters, of course, they're sort of more polite, and you think, try and weather it all. And there's the one bit, of course, again, going back to Champion of the Green Bays, when Toad slams down saying snap, and in fact they're playing poker, and that angers the Brigadier. Indeed, more so, and flips the table. Because he just literally had enough of Toad's, that sort of his behaviour, really, towards, and also his dim-wittedness, of course, into playing card games. Whereas the other ones are sort of used to it, like that. Whereas Toad's just like, oh, I thought we were playing Snap or something, that sort of thing. A nice little homage to a bit of an episode I remember fondly many years ago. You've also got the thing with Sergeant Benton and Mike Yates as well. That's sort of, also the whole love thing with Joe Grant and Mike Yates is still apparent here and there. Of course, they have to stay together in this little apartment. But we also got the Brigadier as well, and Benton, and all the other ones, even sleeping crammed to a bed, a sofa on the floor, or in the bathroom as well. So it's quite interesting. Also, a funny little scene when Sergeant Benton decides to take a shit in the dark. Mike Yates walks in. It's like, just like that's like the most awkward, embarrassing thing ever between two main unit characters. It's a similar thing to it's like something ripped out like Benidorm, which is actually a similar thing, really. If you've ever seen Benidorm, you know which character I meant, actually, who does that. It's like again, it's obviously a bit strange, really, in that regard, but it's quite funny. So we get to the covert operation for the Brunswick Centre, of course, below the shopping centre, we see a returning enemy, which of course is the Master, again portrayed by Mark Kermode, who last appeared in Stranger to the Ground. He's working for this, like, well, he's in league with these humanoids who are basically faceless. They're like people, like mannequins, but they're faceless. They're not autons. They're not Nestine or anything like that. They're like some weird experimental humanoid servants, slaves, really, that he sort of come across. Think of the toys from Bad Therapy, the Virgin New Adventures and all from 996. Just think of that, really, you know. Well, in order they're there to serve, really, but they've been enslaved a few times, and also the Master's done this as well. He took the advantage of slaving them, he has. And the thing is, what the Master is, the plan is to basically bring in his own type of immigration, really. With these ones, they're sort of immigrants as well, to be honest. These slavers, they do have feelings, but they are born, you know, they are made to serve, really. But there comes a point when they can't be controlled anymore. Hence why one of them got murdered at the beginning of the story. And this all comes together, like, you know, they're trying to break away from the Master, of course, who is using them, of course, for housing, making business, very much, that sort of thing. But also immigrating other alien species, which we never see, actually. We never see them, but they're mentioned through files that the Masters obtain, like, say, right, these guys from planet Alta 11, whatever, or Troxus 4, or, you know, Vibe Slow 7, that sort of thing. They're going to stay in these planets here and there, but also using a defensive, like a defensive shield, very much. Like, also they need to be human to be blended in, but also, you know, to keep very covert. I mean, this Brunswick thing, of course, is meant for them, really. Like, they have living accommodation, but also a shopping centre as well. They can't venture outside into London. Very much do, I think, for a short amount of time, depending on the technology the Master's obtained, really. Well, stolen, actually. And just uses that, he does. And that sort of thing. We do get some interesting fight scenes, of course, with units as well. They come towards the climax, of course, which in the Brunswick, you know, there's a big shootout at the Brunswick Estate. And obviously try and get hold of the Master as well. Coming face to face with the Master again leads to a bit of a battle. Tormented, of course, and also his eating habits as well return. Obviously, the Master. If I need to recap as well with the Master, of course, he is a snack. His thing is snacking, a bit like Egon for Ghostbusters, because he has a faulty regeneration. This is the Mark Kermode Master has a faulty regeneration, like a bit of a faulty start. He constantly eats. It's just to keep him going, actually. You know, it's just one of those things, really, like one of those disadvantages with this version of the Master, really. You know, it's better than John Sims' interpretation when he's resurrected and he's just like some weird glowy skeleton thing with superpowers. This is how you do a Master right. So, you know, he's sort of like a bit, again, you know, still carry on trumbling along, but he has to eat. He has a snack. He does to feed on. He does just normal food, really, not humans or anything like that. You know, always carries something with him. He does, just to keep energy going for him. But obviously, of course, the Master escapes as well. We get into this whole that weird, of course, the whole dynamic thing between Eunice with Joe Grant, of course, obviously related with John Pertwee's era, of course, that whole Exile to Earth type thing. This is obviously a Pertwee story, but implemented those characters in instead of John Pertwee, which is a bit strange. And but also the thing is there are hints to what's to come, very much down the line. The Brigadier sees the corner of his eye, the Doctor, but when he saw Jolie turns, he's saying, Doctor, and he sees the characters, of course, like he sees the Doctor in the corner of his eye. He knows it's the Doctor, but in front of him, very much full, it's the characters, the last adventurers, and this sort of hints at what is else to come, what really is happening. Really, why is the Doctor not here? Because we know the Doctor has somehow disappeared now, because, you know, Joe Grant's still here, Unit's still here, and obviously they're sort of cleaning up after, after a few alien invasions, not too many, but just maybe a couple really, as they mentioned, of course. And obviously they've assisted these ones, of course, just for this now story. So we're getting some interesting bits and pieces from here, which we'll get to in later stories down the line, which will definitely tell the truth, more so in 20 books, 20 installments time or something like that. We'll have to wait. We'll have to wait and see. We'll have to wait. So this story, of course, again, another written one. Again, very sort of for poetry story, of course, very poetry-esque, of course, master unit, Joe Grant, of course. The original idea was to basically to feature some recurring monsters like the pteroleptals, the axons, and the krauls. But I decided to go against that, actually, because it's like that seems always a bit overblown, really. So I ended up with these humanoids called the hunoids, they're known as. Again, very similar to the toys. They're sort of like blank-faced people, a bit like the Yude as well, because they're more, they're made to serve, born to serve, really. It's part of their race, really. And obviously being enslaved, there has been obviously the master thought, I can give you some accommodation at home, really, but you have to really serve under me as a main ruler, that sort of thing. And obviously this is what tends to happen, of course, and that's how conditioning sort of goes. And of course they sort of just break free, really. So it's like that. I've always liked the idea of the toys, actually. If you see the front cover of Bad Therapy, that's what really influenced me to do something like that, really. They're like an innocent race with no really enough features, really, but yet they've been treated like slaves all the time. It's part of the thing, really. Nothing else really to go for that. Urban Prey. I think that actually comes from a novel as well, same with the Crucifixion Squad, like a sci-fi novel. So it just basically follows the same title, really. But it's quite Urban Prey sort of works in its own right because it's set in a housing estate, really. Very similar to Damaged Goods, which is fantastic. So there's a bit of influence of Damaged Goods in there, like with the Seventh Doctor, Christian Rose. They have to go into the Quadrant and basically just work undercover, work incognito, of course, and work in one of those flats, of course, just to keep an eye on everyone, because there's something really going on around the Quadrant. So very similar thing with Urban Prey. It's also like it's like Damaged Goods, but set in the Poe era, that type of thing, really, with the inclusion of the Master. And so yeah, and that's it, really. Urban Prey, number 24, Last Adventurers, Rise Tales. Thank you very much, guys. See you later.